when you are hiring someone, them having a really clear process that they can lead you through is communicating from the very beginning and throughout that they're leading, that they've got you, that they've done this before, and that you can trust them to get you the outcome you want. Because let's face it, when it comes to selling expertise, you're buying something you actually don't see. It's not like trying on a pair of pants. It's not like trying on a pair of shoes. Do these fit or not? You're buying the promise of what this business is going to deliver for you. And there's a bit of a leap of faith no matter how much you trust somebody. You're putting your trust in their hands that they're going to deliver. So having a process and leading with that kind of clarity and communication throughout that process is how we continually reinforce, we've got you. Don't worry. We're going toward a goal, and we've done this before.
Hi, I'm Leslie Silverman, and I thrive on deep, honest conversations with entrepreneurs about how we show up as the truest version of ourselves, both personally and professionally. Because when we let our light shine, we give others permission to do the same. This is a category of one. Pia Silva is the founder of No BS Mastery, where she teaches experts, consultants, and boutique agencies the No BS business model for 250 to 500K plus with freedom and ease and no employees. She's a TEDx speaker, host of the No BS Mastery podcast, former Forbes contributor, and author of Badass Your Brand and Scale Solo. Hello, today we have Pia Silva. I'm so thrilled to be having this conversation. How are you?
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me, Leslie.
Thank you. I just would like to share with our listeners that Pia is someone who I consider a mentor, and I have been a member of her No BS Mastery program for 2 years. And so I have looked up to her and just watched her business evolve and unfold and learned so much about how to show up as an entrepreneur from her. So I'm just thrilled to have the opportunity to share you with my audience.
I appreciate that so much. That means so much to me.
So we're going to just jump right in with the most relevant thing that's happening right now for Pia, which is her second book, Scale Solo. Do you want to just give us a high-level introduction about who you help and why this book is so timely right now in business?
Yeah. So I help expert-based businesses, people who sell their expertise solo often or partnerships, and they want more freedom. They want more ease. And this model that I teach inside my programs, and now I tell all inside this book, is showing that when you're selling your expertise, which means, by definition, you have to show up for the thing that you're selling, right? It's not a product off a shelf. Is you can really only run your business certain ways, right? Like the numbers have to work in order to make a certain amount of money in a certain amount of time. So you have the freedom, the numbers need to work. And so what I do in this book and has been clearer and clearer over the years as I've taught and implemented this in so many people's businesses is first you got to get clear on where you're going. What does this business actually look like? And then once we have that clarity, well, now there's, a bunch of different little things that we can do to tweak our business toward that goal until we hit it.
One of the highlights of the book, and something I think that we can just jump right into, even without having the full context, is you talk about three pillars in business that we need to have the best client relationships. And those are trust, leadership, and process. And I think of all the things that I have learned in No BS Mastery, and I have a brand strategy web development business with one business partner, and we have scaled exponentially using the No BS method. But those three foundational pillars are so key.
Yeah. I mean, again, when you're selling services, there's only a certain way you can deliver this at a very high level so that you can charge those premium prices. And so much of that has to do with the trust between you and the client. Anytime you're selling an expert level service, you're either working intimately with that client or you're delivering something that's going to have a really large effect on that client's life and business. So those three pillars kind of come from this idea that for you to do what you do at your most excellent level, and for them to see that and appreciate it and pay you appropriately, you must create that trust up front, and you must carry it through the entire process. So when I talk about process, for example, it's the fact that when you are hiring someone, them having a really clear process that they can lead you through is communicating from the very beginning and throughout that they're leading, that they've got you, that they've done this before, and that you can trust them to get you the outcome you want. Because let's face it, when it comes to selling expertise, you're buying something you actually don't see. It's not like trying on a pair of pants. It's not like trying on a pair of shoes. Do these fit or not? You're buying the promise of what this business is going to deliver for you. And there's a bit of a leap of faith. No matter how much you trust somebody, you're putting your trust in their hands that they're going to deliver. So having a process and leading with that kind of clarity and communication throughout that process is how we continually reinforce, we've got you. Don't worry. We're going toward a goal, and we've done this before. And I think that I have found that allows clients to relax into the process and actually let you lead, which is another key cornerstone of building a no BS business, is that you really do lead the process so that we get rid of all the BS that takes up so much time in most people's businesses.
I feel like I've experienced this firsthand with so many clients who they almost take a sigh of relief when they see that you are going to drive the process. And the analogy from the book that I really relate to so much is you talk about going to a doctor and saying, my ankle hurts. And the doctor's like, well, what do you think it is? Do you think it's a sprain? Do you think it's a break? And you've done your homework up front to vet that this is a reliable medical practitioner. So you're like, listen, this is your job. You tell me what to do about my ankle because I'm uncomfortable. And I've come here because I want to let you lead. And so we show up with that same energy of, listen, I know what I'm doing. I am an expert. And if you give me the autonomy to do what I do best, then I can help reflect what you do best. And I believe that I've actually used those exact words with people. And even business owners or people who maybe in a minute you have that little stressful, like, oh gosh, I'm going to tell this successful person, this is how it's going to be. But anytime I've backed down on that, it has backfired. And anytime I have owned my confidence and gone in with that, it has turned out to be a beautiful project for everyone.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm not surprised. And also well done in stepping into that, because stepping into it is its own challenge and hurdle for a lot of people, because you're actually, I find, I was just talking to Rebecca the other day about this, like there's a comfort sometimes in letting the client lead, right? Because then you don't have as much you don't realize this, of course, but like you don't have as much responsibility around it. What do you think, right? And it feels like good customer service. It feels like well, of course the client is hiring me to to do what they ask. So if I say, well, what do you think, client? Of course they're going to like that. But it's like, well, actually, that's not really leading. And that is hard, because when you take that responsibility and lead, you have to be really clear and confident in what you're delivering and, telling the client, this is what I think it should be. So, I mean, I feel like you've really stepped into that in such a positive way.
Well, thanks. And one thing that I've watched happen in your business model, which has been wonderful, and I think it's important for people to understand who are listening, who are curious, how do I take these guardrails or processes and apply them in my own business, is that you started out focusing on 1 to 2 person boutique agencies because that is what you knew. And as you had people from other industries and other very similar fields want to tap in and want to know how to use this, you've decided to expand Mastery to include some other service-based expert businesses that this could also apply to. And I fully believe that this is going to be highly successful for those people. And I think you've had this experience, as have I, in recommending the LP method and different ways of approaching projects to our very clients. So do you want to share what the LP method is And then we can maybe talk about a couple industries that could really tap into this brilliance beyond agencies.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, so the LP method, very high level, is replacing any sort of free pitching, whether it is a custom proposal that you're writing for a project or like a menu of items that maybe have a price and you let the client, pick off the menu of items. Instead of doing that, we sell the first step, and we sell that first step to generate a paid engagement where we are building trust. So that paid engagement, the LP, is by definition a paid interview with a strategic brief that's delivered afterwards that shows the client, uncovers what their true problems are, understands the big picture of their situation in addition to what they told you they needed, instead of just taking what a client says they need at face value, and then delivering a brief that says, hey, you're here, you want to go there, and here's exactly the plan and the opportunities that are available to you to get there. And you can take that plan and do with it what you will, or you can hire me to do it. Here's the price point. And what I have found is that there are so many benefits to starting a relationship this way. A few off the top of my head is that you get paid for that strategic insight instead of doing it for free, but also that the client actually values that strategic insight. It gives you an opportunity to get a clearer picture of what the client's situation is. So you are actually giving them super valuable advice instead of taking, again, their requests at face value and writing a proposal that's just based on what they think they need, which, by the way, clients often don't understand what they fully need because they're not the expert. You are. So those are just a few reasons. I think I had 15 in the book, and I had to cut it. I cut it down to 10 because my editor was like, that's too many. I was like, but I could go on and on about this. It's like, this completely changes the way you do your business. And actually, Leslie, I don't know if you know this, but I was actually teaching the LP method for 5 years before I went all in on the branding agencies. So I've seen the LP method work in all kinds of service businesses, and it's really effective. And I decided to unniche, I'm saying, because I'm ready to give it to all of these service businesses. And I think there are only going to be more and more of people like this in the world, not fewer, as as people get laid off, as people realize the corporate ladder is not fun, as people realize there's no stability, and there's this opportunity for so many individuals to be their own businesses. And I just want to make sure that they have the tools to do it effectively.
Oh yeah. And it's not even unniching as much as it's just redefining the niche, right? Because it's still expert service-based businesses. And I have found in our business, even using the LP method, I mean, when clients have skin in the game, when they're paying you just even a little bit versus free, you get rid of the tire kickers, the people who are just making their decision based on price, which is not who you want anyway. And I use the language, we're a partner, not a vendor. So if you're looking for a vendor, you can go get 5 comparative bids and decide based on price. But if you're looking on strategy and direction, but we had a client recently where she does, just as an example how this could be applied, because stories help people kind of identify, she is a luxury custom window covering company. And so she'll come to your home and she measures every window, and then she brings some swatches. You can choose what fabric or material you want for your windows. And then she goes off and she prepares a price and a bid, and she follows up in an email with, here's the cost for me to come put all these custom windows in your house. Now, people at that point could take this bid, all those custom measurements, and they could go to some big box store and order it off the rack, but she did all the work. And I said to her, I highly recommend, I put in her, we call it a brand buzz, in her LP deliverable, you need to charge for your time to go on site and do the measurements. And she said, it's just not done that way in my industry. And I said, well, hey, we're trying to break away from the industry status quo, and taps right into my category.
Break away, yes.
How do we break away? So
yeah.
I convinced her, even if it's a super low price point, like $300, immediately she's going to save herself so much time. She could take the $300 off the back end if she wants, but she's only going to have people who are actually really interested in her expertise. And so it's so easy to take this method and transpose it onto these different industries, even something physical like custom window coverings.
I love it. Yeah, I love that you suggested that to her. You know what that reminds me of? Like a long time ago, I had this interior designer friend who mentioned she like came and she just like gave me some advice on our old apartment. And then she said, and she told me, she goes, call California Closets and have them come in and do an estimate for you. And they'll give you the whole design and then just build it yourself. Because they do it for free. And that's a big company, right? And I did it and it was awesome. And they did it for free. And then I moved into my new apartment and I did the same thing and they were charging for it. And I was like, good for you. And I paid for it and I was happy with it. And I just made it myself. But it was funny. It was like they caught on too, because it's like this free stuff. It's a waste of your time. Some people are never planning on working with you.
Right. Yes. Yes. So there are just so many industries that this is applicable. And there's so much value that I learned from being in the mastery, but also I think was a huge pivotal tool. I just had somebody call me the other day who found us on Google and called up and said, hi, I need SEO. And I said, oh, okay. Why do you think you need SEO? And he said, well, because I want more people to find my website. Why? Because I want more clients. So what you want is more clients. And you decided that SEO is what's going to get you there, right? And so through conversation and making this person recognize that really they needed to look at a lot more than just needing SEO. But they ended up not being a fit because they just wanted SEO. But guess what? I didn't waste my time for 2 hours preparing a free proposal for them. They probably went and found a vendor for SEO. And
good luck with that.
Right. Lo and behold, you get a better fit client.
Yeah.
I would love to just talk about the emotion of confidence a little bit. I think one thing that you lead by example with, and you've also been so vulnerable and transparent about, is that you didn't love getting on stages, or you joke that like, oh, I have to do a new updated photo shoot to promote my new book, and that you don't necessarily like those things, yet you're a TEDx speaker on the topic of confidence. And so what do you do to overcome your own internal voice of imposter syndrome that all humans have? How do you hype yourself up to be confident and go onto stages or into rooms and overcome that? I think that's such helpful advice for anyone in business.
Yeah. I mean, I will say it gets easier and easier. So I have to go back to when it was like to give good advice. It's like I got to go back to when it was harder. And I'm not saying I like it now. It's just that it's easier now because I've done it so much. And that's kind of part of the advice, which is back in the day, there was a lot of, it was just getting the reps in. So I remember those first 20 quote stages that I spoke on. Okay. And I'm saying stages because it was anything. I spoke in co-working spaces, like in the general area people are hanging out. That's not a stage. I spoke at the public library famously, and I was so nervous, and there were all these seats and 3 people showed up and I was standing at the front. I've spoken at the Chamber of Commerce and like just all kinds of rooms. And every time I remember Steve was mentioning it the other day. He said, do you remember when you used to give these speeches and the whole night before you couldn't sleep, and like all morning you'd be so like exhausted and anxious, and you just couldn't wait for it to get over with? And you know what? It is exposure therapy. It is doing it over and over again that really made it easier. And it's not just that particular thing. I think I started to realize at a certain point that doing the hard things here and there as much as possible was actually helping me build the confidence, because it's basically every time you do something that feels hard, you train your body to realize that like nothing bad happened, and every time you do that, it kind of adjusts your body to getting a little bit more used to the idea of, okay, this is a hard thing, but I've done this now many times, or I've done hard things many times, and I'm always okay. It always passes. And so just doing that over and over again. And, I wrote about a little bit in the book, like at this point, I am like, I'm going to say actively looking, but if I see something that feels really scary, I kind of go towards it now because I have experienced the value of doing the really hard thing and afterwards feeling more confident from it, like, oh, I did that thing. What else can I do? Like, so I feel like there really was a crossover at some point where I started to actually actively look for it, because if I want to, for example, like this is all very uncomfortable for me. Like a new book, I'm doing a big launch. I'm speaking on like 20 stages in the next month, like virtual stages, so many groups. It's exhausting. It's intense, but it's like I'm prepared for this. I feel more prepared for it. So even though it's scary and even though it feels like there's a lot on the line, like I'm like resting on the fact that like you've done this. This is just a bigger version of it. And I had to work up to that, I guess is my conclusion of that. I had to work up to it. And that's what I think everyone needs to do. You need to work up to it by doing lots of things that are scary.
It's a trust muscle too, right? And bouncing off what you said, I have this worst case scenario kind of meditative thing I put myself through. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? I might not sound as articulate as I wanted to. I might embarrass myself, or even stretching to invite someone to be a guest on your podcast, or inviting someone to come speak in a room, right? Like you bravely reached out to Seth Godin to come to our No BS Mastery Retreat. And you probably said to yourself, the worst thing that can happen is he says no or ghosts me. And guess what? Not only did he say yes, but he loved it. And as attendees, we felt like so blessed to be able to learn from him and be a part of that conversation. I got to ask him a question. I mean, so that was what gave me the courage to ask you to come on my podcast and other people that I've invited to be guests, because I say, you know what? Whether you think you can do something or whether you think you can't, it's true. That's a good quote.
Yeah,
I didn't make that up, but
I love that quote. Yeah. I was so scared to ask him, which is so crazy. And you know where I got the courage was from our community, who told me, my coaches told me, you have to ask him. Why not? Why would he not want to come? I was like, okay. And I did it. And he said yes. And then, it's even crazier, Leslie. I asked him to blurb my book. He blurbed my book. And I was so scared to ask him that.
And he was happy.
I knew him, and he was happy to. Yeah. Actually, his first email was like, I don't really blurb many people's books, and like kind of pushed me off. He's like, I'll take a look, but no promises. And I was like, that's fine. Thank you so much. And then he blurbed it. But it was like I'm just saying, like, it's still scary, I guess is what I'm trying to say, is like, it looks, and a lot, that's why I share how scary it is so much, because I think from the outside, people think that it's not. And I'm like, no, it's still scary. I'm just doing it anyway.
And I think one of my goals in this podcast is, I even say it in my intro, is when we show up as the truest version of ourselves, both personally and professionally, and let our light shine, we give others permission to do the same. So I think that was expansive to me, to see you, while being uncomfortable, work through that and do it anyway. So that gives me the courage to do that. And if all of us can inspire each other to take those leaps and take those chances. I mean, in the book, the example you give, and I got to kind of see this because you shared it in the community too, is someone who has no singing experience and has never been interested in being a singer. You ended up, because your son was doing music lessons in a facility where you ended up taking voice lessons, and you headlined a rock band just to push yourself to do something uncomfortable, and you sang on stage.
I did. It was crazy. That was crazy. You know what though? Part of the motivation for that, and thank you for sharing that and saying that, because part of my motivation was like, well, every day I'm telling this community of people that they need to do hard things. I know it's scary to reach out to people. I know it's scary to have these conversations. I know it's scary to do your first talk, but that's how you build that muscle. I have to demonstrate that I'm still doing this. So, I mean, the community was a lot of the motivation to do that. I was like, well, this is my next thing because this is crazy for me to do. This is absolutely nuts. And everyone will understand that this is very, very scary. So good. I need to walk my walk. I need to continue to walk my walk. It's no longer getting on a stage is no longer an example of me doing something scary because I've done it enough times, but this is definitely that.
And the reward is so high. It feels so good when you challenge yourself and push yourself to do something that has that level of fear or insecurity or nerves attached, and then you do it anyway. I don't know about you, but I just feel just so great about myself that I push myself to do it. It's so rewarding.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yes. And I feel like when I do things like that, I'm always just relieved that it's over. But I think for me, it shows up more as like that confidence that I can do hard things thing. Like, I don't know that I feel as much like joy from it. I'll be honest. Like, I don't know that I get like an elated feeling. I think I feel more like, all right, like, it's like when you work out and your muscles hurt and you're like, ow, but like, yeah. You're like, yeah, I did that. You know what I mean? It's a little more of a
it's like you never regret, like with the working out analogy. If I'm a little on the fence and I'm tired, I say to myself, I never regret when I choose to work out. Even if I have a mediocre workout that day, I never regret when I do it. But I know that if I don't regret it, I will regret it if I don't. So it's always worth it. I want to speak to people who right now are maybe they've read the book or maybe they've listened to your podcast a little bit and they are on the fence on whether or not this program is for them or if they want to find out more. And I kind of take this approach in all sales that you'll never feel salesy if you just lean into the fact that like you can help people. So it's just a matter of, am I a fit to help you or not? So people who are on the fence, I just know how many people you've already helped and how many more can be helped by the work that you're putting out in the world. So what would you say to that person and what would be their next logical step to just find out if you're a fit to help them build the life that they want for their business?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you asking that. I would say that the people who are the best fit for us are people who are like the amazing people that we attract in our community. I mean, we have like the best people in our community because they really care about delivering great work, which is their strength and also their weakness. Because sometimes when you care so much about delivering excellence, what ends up happening is you sacrifice yourself and your business. And the model I teach is to show you don't have to sacrifice yourself and your business to deliver excellent work for your clients. So they care a lot about that, but they also do care so much about their freedom and their flexibility. They care so much about their time. They value their freedom. They value their friends and families and free time and creative projects. They're all very interesting people with like creative pursuits. So I think the people that I can help most are people that resonate with that description, because those are the kinds of people that we attract. Now, obviously they are selling expert services, but this model is very much designed for somebody like that. It's not designed for somebody who's trying to scale to a multi-million-dollar business and wants a team and doesn't want to do the work. Like there's so many ways to learn that from other people. Like that's not us. We're really like freedom first, just like good people. And not that people who want to scale aren't good people, but it's like more like people who really care about the work. We attract a lot of perfectionists, right? It was like full of perfectionist types, which is, a blessing and a curse because you care so much, but you're also not looking, sometimes that can make it hard to actually deliver in an efficient way. So I can help with that. And the easiest way to find out more is to go to nobsmastery.com. That has all the information about our different programs. Now we have 2 programs. We have one for branding agencies specifically, and then we have one for expert-based businesses. And they are delivered differently, and they're taught differently because it's, even though one is inside the other, agency mastery is the one that I built first, and it goes much wider and deeper into specific branding agency application, whereas the expert business version of it is applicable to anyone selling expertise and doesn't speak specifically to the branding agencies.
Perfect. Excellent description. And that quality of life component really too, I would describe as quality over quantity. So it's not just about how can I get the most work possible, but how can I get the most aligned work possible? And when we do that, and what I've discovered through, working with you and everyone inside Mastery too, is when we do that, we start attracting these right fit clients where so much of the decision is not about price. And that's what leads to everything. Because as you've said, we get away from the hourly mindset thinking where people think they're going to laundry list or be quicker and it's going to cost less. And they're really investing in the outcome and the value of the project as a whole. So it's like I said once to a photographer friend who said, how much should I charge for these headshots? It only took me 10 minutes. And I said, no, it took you 40 years of holding a camera, learning how to look at the light and position the person and take that 10-minute photo and then edit it in 30 seconds because you know the software, right? And so getting away from that type of hourly thinking into the value and recognizing, feeling confident in charging for what the people are getting as a result instead of the micromanaging.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect description. And that is a really big mind and body shift to move into that value-based selling. And I think you described it perfectly. And I also think that when you're delivering in a more outcome-based way, it's really, really about that's going back to how you lead the process, right? We're selling something completely different, and we're selling it in a completely different way. And we may be selling it to the same people. So I just gave a presentation earlier today. Everybody said, my biggest issue is that nobody has a budget. And then I showed them a bunch of examples of people in our program who turned someone who didn't have a budget and was just looking for a logo into a, $12,000 branding and website package. And I said, it's not that people don't have the budget. It's that they just don't have the budget for you right now, the way you're presenting yourself. And I think that even when I say that, I think most people don't it doesn't click. They don't believe me because they've never experienced the other way of selling. And it's not, and I think they think I'm saying that people are lying about their budget, and they're not. I don't think these people are lying about their budget. They just don't have any idea what value is actually available to them and what that costs and how much they'll want to buy it once they understand it.
Right. When they understand the ROI is so much more than that number on the page. And let's just say it is 12,000. If their clients pay them $20,000 for their architectural services or interior design services, right, then how could less than the investment of what one client would pay for not be a value for having clarity to speak to your ideal clients? And it's a trust muscle. It's something like everything we've been saying today, that you have to go through the reps and really understand how you're communicating that clearly to your people. And that's, a big part of what we learned inside Mastery as well and supported each other on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have one other thing that I really want to bring up, which is so fun. And I will guess that this is not a question that anyone else has asked you, so that will make it fun too.
Okay.
So in reading your credits or thanks at the end of your book, you thank Steve for designing the cover and also encouraging you to kind of break out and choose something that looks like this. And so I'm privy to what like the very first draft of the design was, which was minimalistic.
Oh, right.
Black
The black
cover
one.
with white type, which is, it's a thing. It's a vibe right now in book covers, just clean and simple. But, and then what you went with, I just love it because it's your personality and it stands out and it's a vibe and all the things. But share with me kind of how you shifted from that design to this one and how you're feeling about, did you have to get out of your own way to like put yourself on the cover? Cause that's like a discomfort zone, or how did that go?
Right. Well, remember my face was on the first cover. That was really, that was really intense and very scary. And that was when we decided that would be on the cover, when I had never had my photo out anywhere. Like I had no photos online. I was very private and social media wise, like just nothing. So that was a big leap. This time, you can't see my face, but it feels very different. And what I loved it. Like when Steve showed it to me, I loved it. I thought it looked so cool. You're right. It's a vibe. And I was like, oh, that's so sexy. Like, that's like, I love, I wasn't even sure what I looked at. I was like, is this sending the right message? And he was like, it looks cool. Like, and it's you. And he goes, nobody has this photo. Nobody else has this photo. It's like a badass move for you to use it. We've always done that, right? Like if something's like, oh, it's a little uncomfortable, like nobody does that. The way we picked both book covers was he pulled all of the books that are kind of out there right now, like the big books, and put my book on a page with it, both like on an Amazon scrolling page and just like a mock-up of all the pages, and just kind of look at it and say like, how does this feel with all of them? And this book cover really stood out, just like my last book. It felt like, oh no, I really see that one. And it's so different than Marie Forleo's and Seth Godin's book, like everyone's books, Atomic Habits, like all these really big books, Mel Robbins. This just looked totally different. And so I needed him to really, because when you do something that feels really different and like not what books are supposed to look like, I needed a pep talk. But he really convinced me, and I think he said the right things, which was the like, nobody else has this photo, and that's cool. Do it. I said, okay, let's do it.
And it is, and that's what I'm all about. That is what I am all about. How do we do what nobody else is doing? Because again, we give others permission to do the same, to stand out as our truest self, because there is no other Pia Silva. There is no other Leslie Silverman. And when we can just not be afraid and not want to fit in, that's when we're best doing what we do. And when I first saw it, well, first of all, I was pleasantly surprised, and I was like, oh,
because you had seen the black one.
Right. And I was like, freaking badass, right? How many times can we say badass? But it's so applicable. And there was also this like subliminal, the director chair energy, right? Of like, you're in a director's chair, and so you're like a boss, and also, but just the subtlety of like, you're in your own world. You have to look up the book cover to see it, people. I'll just put it at that. I loved it. And then I just loved the full circle moment of reading why you went that route, or that you had to be lovingly nudged to do so. So we are going to link all the things in the show notes. Is there anything else that you wanted to share that we didn't touch on? We talked about so many different fabulous things today, but...
Well, I wrote a whole book about all the things I'd love to share. So I guess all I would say to the listeners is, if this is resonating with you, I hope you grab the book and enjoy it. I really did put everything in it. Like there's no gatekeeping in it. It's not like, oh, here's a little bit of this, and then, you have to come hire me. Like I give it to you because I also know that I can give it to you, and like people still need help actually implementing and support. And it's not just knowing the information, it's how you take action on it. It's getting better and better at taking action on it. And that's true for anything. That's not just this, that's anything in business. And certainly everything I've learned in business was learned at the School of Hard Knocks, doing it myself and doing it wrong a bunch of times, or like doing it messy and it not being perfect, until I got things to a place where it was like really humming. So hopefully that's conveyed in this book, and people really get that. And if you like it, or even if you just only kind of like it, I would appreciate a review because that helps other people see it.
Absolutely. And by the time this episode drops, the book is available. So we'll have a link to that as well. And I can say firsthand that learning from how Pia built this system through trial and error was a huge benefit to come in and learn it. And it has changed exponentially the quality of my life, the amount of freedom, and how our business prospers. So I feel really lucky to have been a part of Mastery and to have had this conversation today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Leslie. This was super fun.
This has been a Category of One podcast. If this resonated with you, please share, subscribe, or leave a review. I appreciate you.